One guy flamed out because he couldn't put the bottle down. Another was destined for the Hall of Fame, then walked away before his time. That is the fate of every single guy picked before Luke Kuechly. Andrew Luck. He was supposed to be the closest thing to a guarantee in football history. We are talking the most hyped quarterback prospect in a generation. When the Colts grabbed him at number 1 in 2012, nobody argued. The man checked every single box. 6'4", 240, mobile, brilliant, with a literal cannon for an arm. He was already running a pro-style offense at Stanford, dissecting defenses before he ever stepped on an NFL field. He wasn't a project, he was a savior, and he proved it day one. In a single season, Luck dragged a 2-14 disaster in Indy to an 11-5 playoff squad. 7 game-winning drives that year, the most in the league. He didn't just win football games, he stole them.
Good Luck out of the gun again. He will give it to Donald Brown. Donald fights his way. The ball's loose. Luck picks it up. And Luck scores!
Luck looks the other way. Back up the middle. Can run. Gonna do it. Look at Luck with the move. It is in!
By 2014, the guy was a bona fide superstar. 3 Pro Bowls, a league-leading 40 touchdowns.
Man, there's only so many QBs that you can put your hands on them and you're still looking down the field.
He wrecked his shoulder against Tennessee in Week 3, and the damage was way worse than anyone realized at the time. Then Week 9 against the Broncos, a lacerated kidney and a torn abdominal muscle. By the 2017 offseason, he needed surgery on his throwing shoulder and missed the whole year. He returned in 2018, looking totally reborn. He snagged Comeback Player of the Year, tossing for nearly 4,600 yards and 39 touchdowns. Luck dragged the Colts back to the playoffs, even crushing the Texans 21-7 in the wild card before falling to Mahomes and the Chiefs. But despite the wins, the toll was paid. His body was wrecked, his mental state was fraying, and the injuries, they weren't done with. In the 2019 preseason, a calf strain and a high ankle sprain forced him to take a hard look at his future. On August 25th, 2019, he decided the pain wasn't worth the glory. He retired at 29. We were robbed of a decade of battles between Luck and Mahomes. Today, Luck is the general manager at Stanford, and it is awesome seeing him find that love for the game again. Then there was the other face of the draft, Robert Griffin III.
On the Redskins' first possession, he fires downfield. He's now 7 for 7 as Garcon breaks free. Pierre Garcon will not be caught.
He also scrambled for 815 yards and 7 scores, shattering the rookie quarterback rushing record. His game was pure electricity built on the read option. The triple threat of running, handing off, or throwing froze defenses and bought him eternity in the pocket. But there was a fatal flaw. RG3 never learned how to slide, and he refused to protect himself. In the 2012 wild card game against Seattle, playing on a sprained knee, disaster struck. On a botched snap, his leg just gave out. Achilles, LCL, meniscus, all gone in a second. That was the beginning of the end. He returned in 2013, but the magic was gone. The explosiveness vanished, and without the read option threat, he struggled to dissect defenses. With injuries stacking up like cordwood, Washington had no choice. They cut him loose in March of 2016. He bounced around the Browns and Ravens trying to recapture that rookie lightning, but it was just too late. Griffin never officially retired, but he hasn't taken a snap since 2020. Now he is analyzing college ball for Fox Sports after a stint at ESPN from 2021 to 2024. He is also crushing it on YouTube with his podcast, Out of Pocket with RG3. Then there is Trent Richardson, taken 3rd overall by the Browns, the highest drafted back since 2006. Scouts were calling him the best prospect since Adrian Peterson.
I think the thing about Trent is he's so determined.
He wanted greatness. Coming out of Alabama, he swore he would be remembered as one of the best to ever carry the rock. As a rookie, he backed it up. Over 1,300 scrimmage yards and 12 trips to the end zone. But here is the secret: he did most of that with 2 broken ribs. He slept sitting up, couldn't dress himself, but still suited up every single Sunday. Then, Shocker, Cleveland traded him to Indy 2 games into his second year. They thought he was a bust waiting to happen. That is when the wheels fell off. His numbers tanked. By year 3, he was grinding out 3.3 yards a carry. At 24 years old, his NFL career was effectively over. Life after football got even darker. His own family drained $1.6 million from his accounts, betraying his trust completely. He didn't just lose his career, he lost his faith in the people closest to him. Since hanging up the cleats, Richardson has been coaching high school ball and staying close to the Alabama program. Real quick, before we hit pick number 4, do me a solid. Smash that subscribe button, but only if you are actually digging the content. We are chasing 50,000 subscribers, and I appreciate every one of you. Now, the Vikings took Matt Khalil, thinking they locked down a franchise left tackle for the next decade. 6'7", long arms, massive hands. He was the literal prototype you dream of to protect a quarterback's blind side. His rookie year started rocky. He gave up 4 sacks in just 3 games. But Khalil didn't fold. He adjusted. Over the next 13 games, he allowed just 3.5 sacks and made the Pro Bowl. Then, Season 2, it all started to unravel. December 2013. Pneumonia hit him hard, stripping serious weight off his frame. He wasted his entire offseason just fighting to get his strength back, rather than refining his technique or leveling up his game. But behind the curtain, a bigger storm was brewing. Khalil never actually had the heart to be in the trenches as an offensive line. He dreamed of lining up at tight end. But his dad, former NFL vet Frank, steered him into the tackle spot, a role forcing him to carry a massive frame he never truly felt at home in. His drive started to evaporate, and sure enough, his play on the field tanked right along with it. Khalil logged 5 years in Minnesota before somehow snagging a shocker of a deal. 5 years. $55 million. With Carolina in 2017, even though the analytics guys at Pro Football Focus argued he was barely worth the veteran minimum. That season turned out to be his final curtain call. He was completely washed out of the NFL before he even hit his 30th birthday. Then his life after football got bizarre, featuring a messy lawsuit with his ex and some weird public oversharing about his anatomy. Now, Justin Blackmon, that guy was raw, unfiltered talent. No argument there. During his days at Oklahoma State, he was an absolute monster, snagging the Biletnikoff Award twice and proving he was the undisputed king of college wideouts for 2 years running, over just 38 games. He piled up a staggering 3,648 yards from scrimmage and found the end zone 41 times. When the Jags moved up to snatch him at number 5, they were convinced they'd just drafted a legend. And once he hit the turf, Blackmon immediately flashed the kind of brilliance that made them look like geniuses. In his rookie campaign, he put up 888 scrimmage yards and 5 scores, even while stuck in a stagnant offense. But man, the red flags were already waving before he even played a single snap as a pro. Blackmon got busted for a DUI, a grim preview of the trouble waiting down the road. By 2013, he was sidelined for the last 4 games after violating the league's substance abuse policy. But when he finally got back on the field, he looked absolutely unstoppable. Week 6, against the Broncos, Blackmon went nuclear with 14 grabs for 190 yards, reminding the world just how gifted he really was. Tragically, that spark burned out fast. That November, another suspension hit for yet another violation. And that was the final nail in the coffin. Justin Blackmon never took another snap in the NFL. His entire career wrapped up at the tender age of 23. The dude had bona fide superstar potential. He should have been in the debate for the league's best receiver for a decade. But instead, he washed out after just 20 measly games. He walked away with 1,287 total yards, never even breaking the 1,000-yard mark in a single season. And sadly, his demons didn't stay on the field. In 2025, cops picked him up again for public intoxication near the Oklahoma State campus, proof that the battles that derailed his career were still haunting him. Morris Claiborne marched into the league, boasting one of the most stacked resumes of any defensive back in the entire draft class. Back at LSU, he snagged the Jim Thorpe Award as the country's top defensive back. earning hype for his blazing speed, ball-hawking instincts, and route IQ that scouts thought put him in a league of his own. The big question hanging in the air is simple. What kind of splash is Morris Claiborne actually going to make in the NFL? I'm betting on a massive impact. This kid has the kind of raw tools you just can't coach. He's got the height, the wingspan, and the hands to dominate. But one major red flag trailed him to the pros. Claiborne bombed the Wonderlic with a 4 out of 50, sparking serious doubts about whether he could process the game at NFL speed. Even though he shrugged it off back then and didn't sweat it, that score turned into a shadow that hung over his first few seasons. His start in Dallas was basically a nightmare of injuries, with nagging knee and hamstring problems constantly dragging him off the gridiron. When he was suited up, the athleticism was obvious, but mentally he seemed a step slow. Finally, in 2016, Claiborne managed to pull off a fully healthy offseason and training camp. For once, his swagger seemed to be back. Going toe-to-toe with Des Bryant every day sharpened his skills, and it really looked like he was about to break through. Tough break though, a sports hernia cut his season short, sidelining him for the final 9 games of the year. Shockingly, his peak didn't even happen with the Cowboys. It was 2018 with the Jets where he balled out, snagging 2 picks, including a house call against the Colts, plus 14 deflections and 57 tackles. He managed to stick around for 8 seasons, which is a hell of a lot longer than most guys last in this league. Still, he never earned a Pro Bowl nod and never quite justified being a top 6 selection. Now, Mark Barron, he hit the NFL, known as a guy who set the tone with violence. Fresh out of Alabama, he was a 2-time national champ and an All-American, famous for his football IQ, versatility, and those bone-crushing hits that instantly made the highlight tape. Just watch Robert Griffin III get absolutely plastered into the turf by Barron there. But honestly, his first couple of years with the Bucs were just sort of middling. By 2014, Tampa had seen enough and shipped him off to the Rams. And that's where the story takes a wild turn. In 2015, after linebacker Alec Ogletree got hurt, the Rams shifted Barron from safety to outside linebacker. It felt like a Hail Mary move at the time, but Barron absolutely owned it. All that aggression was perfect for the linebacker spot. He paced the Rams with 116 tackles that year and played at a Pro Bowl caliber for 3 straight seasons from 2015 to 2017. Even though he never got the official Pro Bowl invite, Barron wrapped up an 8-year run with 200 tackle seasons, 12 sacks, and 9 picks on his resume. After brief stints in Pittsburgh and Denver, he quietly hung up the cleats. But his shift to linebacker stands as one of the best mid-career reinventions of the entire decade. Ryan Tannehill was easily one of the biggest roll-the-dice picks of the 2012 draft. The Dolphins grabbed him 8th overall, ignoring the fact that he'd played wideout for most of college and had only about 18 months of experience under center. The upside: he was an athlete with a cannon, and some scouts pegged him as an Andy Dalton type, but with way better physical tools. But there was as the seasons ticked by in Miami, Tannehill just spun his wheels. He was never a disaster, but he never really ascended to greatness either. He had issues hitting the deep ball, sensing the pocket, and reading complex coverages. Plus, he ate way too many sacks. In 2013 alone, he got dropped 58 times, the worst mark in the league. You can't put all that on him, though, since his offensive line was basically a turnstile. Don't get it twisted, Tannehill didn't lack the raw ability. He had the arm and the legs, but he just couldn't sync it all up. And frankly, Miami never built the kind of system he needed to iron out those wrinkles. With the Dolphins stuck in neutral, they dealt him to Tennessee in 2019, and that's exactly where he played the best ball of his life. With King Henry bulldozing lanes on the ground, Tannehill could feast on play-action passes without feeling the pressure to carry the entire offense on his back. The man snagged Comeback Player of the Year, earned his lone Pro Bowl nod, and topped the league charts with a stellar 117.5 passer rating in his debut season. For 3 glorious years, he played exactly like the franchise savior Miami thought they drafted in 2012, but Father Time remains undefeated, and at 35, he was sidelined for the rookie, Will Levis. That changing of the guard marked the absolute last time we ever saw Ryan Tannehill suit up for battle on an NFL gridiron. Moving on to pick number 9, we find Luke Kuechly, a guy who cemented his legacy as one of the greatest defenders in history after being a total tackling magnet at Boston College. In just 3 varsity seasons, he racked up a staggering 532 stops, rewriting the ACC record books and displaying instincts that were simply otherworldly. He was a 2-time consensus All-American, led the entire nation in solo tackles repeatedly, and took home the prestigious Bronco Nagurski hardware back in 2011. Scouts were absolutely obsessed with his game, from his pursuit angles to his relentless motor, and he validated every bit of that hype by smashing franchise records and grabbing Defensive Rookie of the Year. Usually, rookies hit a wall, but Kuechly smashed right through it, winning Defensive Player of the Year in Season 2 with 156 tackles, 4 picks, and a pair of sacks. He maintained that elite altitude his entire career, locking down 7 Pro Bowl selections and earning a spot on the first-team All-Pro squad 5 different times. He was the league's tackle king twice and landed on either the first or second All-Pro team literally every single season following his rookie debut. What made Kuechly a linebacker god was his vision. You watch the tape, and you see him sift through the trash and traffic like he knows the play beforehand. Look at this clip. He's got a lineman in his face, someone diving at his ankles, and he still sheds the block to stuff the runner. That is pure instinct. You just cannot. He was a total film junkie, spending countless hours in the lab breaking down opponents and obsessing over even the tiniest tendencies. He dissected quarterbacks better than almost anyone, and combined with his sideline-to-sideline range, he made plays strictly based on what he memorized from the tape. I stick to the same grind every week, jotting notes on everything. So when I recognize a look and make those clutch plays, I know all that prep work was worth the effort. Now, Kuechly could bring the thunder when he needed to, but he wasn't really famous for just blowing guys up with massive highlight reel hits. He was the ultimate technician, a textbook tackler who commanded the unit and always seemed to elevate his game when the lights were brightest. In Week 16 of 2013, he dropped 24 tackles against the Saints with the division at stake, playing every snap and grabbing a pick to lock up the 17-13 victory. Then, in a shocker following the 2019 season, he hung up his cleats at just 28. 3 concussions had taken their toll, and the risk was just too high. It feels like the Andrew Luck situation all over again, robbing us of his prime. But thankfully, Kuechly has officially been named a Hall of Fame finalist for the class of 2026. Honestly, get his gold jacket ready because he's a total lock, which is wild when you look back at how many top picks from that draft class completely busted. Sound off in the comments on which story shocked you the most. And if you enjoyed the ride, smash that like button and subscribe for more deep dives just like this.